Hey there, and welcome to this tutorial on creating these mini tart tin ornaments done with mini tart tins, bell, some beads, buttons, and some wire. A few things you're going to need. You're going to need some wire. This is just some rusty wire. It's not a very heavy gauge because you're going to need to be able to put it through the holes of your buttons, and you'll need to find a bead that has a hole that's big enough to be able to put the wire through doubled. So 2 pieces of the wire are going to go through the hole. Wood beads work great. Those holes are relatively large. You're going to need some buttons. Of course, you're going to need a tin, a tart tin, a bell. And I have these little, I don't even know what these are. These just like little jewelry jewels. They're just circular. I'm going to use those. You're going to need some tools, some wire cutters. This is just a small set of jewelry pliers. And in order to poke the hole in the tin, I'm using a nail, and this is a punch and a hammer. And then I also have a piece of wood to actually do that in. So those are the items that you're going to need. So let's go ahead and move some things over, and we're going to start by getting the hole in our tin. So you want to place the tin down, and I'm going to use this, it's a center punch, and I'm just going to put that right in the center. And that just gets the hole started. Then I'm going to put this nail in the center. And then I'm going to turn it over and make it just a little larger. And then I have my hole. All right, next I'm going to take the wire, and I like to have more wire than I actually need, just so I have plenty to work with. So that's about enough there. I'm going to cut this off to where the ends are about equal. And that looks like maybe 4 inches, so maybe 8 total. All right, and so we're going to start at the very top, and we're going to work our way down. So I'm going to leave this sitting right here as a guide. We're going to start with the bead. And so you're going to take both ends of the wire, go into the bead. So the bead hole has to be big enough in order to fit that. And then I'm going to push it up to roughly a loop right about there. So next, I'm going to put that little gem. This is completely optional, but I like the way it looks. It's sparkly and it's pretty. Using it with the tin. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the wire, and we're going to start threading buttons on. So I'm going to start, the buttons I'm going to start with are going to be the smaller buttons, and then we'll work down to the bigger button. So these are just some old buttons. So I'm going to start with probably this size, and then what you want to do is you want to put the button, the wire, one end of the wire through each hole in the button, and then just pull it down. And then just feed your buttons. Again, you're just going to put the tails, the ends of the wire, and just feed the buttons on. And you can put as many of these as you want. I'm just using these natural buttons. I think they're just really pretty. And I'm going to work down, actually work up in size a little bit. This is where it gets a little tricky because you kind of have to have a good stash of buttons. So I'm going to pull a few out here. Like this one is a good one. That one's a really good neck size. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on. So now we're working our way. And you don't need a lot of buttons, but you want to have just a little bit of a variation as the button sizes increase. Because eventually whatever button you have at the end is going to sit right on top of the tin. I actually kind of like that one, so I think I'm going to go with that one. And let's see here. That button's about the same size. No. This one's good. Let's go with this one. And then we'll put this one on. So just kind of estimate. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buttons. It's however many you want. Okay, so now we are ready to put the wire through the top of the tart tin. So again, it's going to be 2 tails going through. All right, so you're going to thread that through, and then just kind of, it will be a little bit loose between the tart tin and the button. Okay, so now we're going to turn it over, and we're going to thread one more button that's going to go on the inside underneath the tart tin. This is actually to help hold the wire to where it's not as loose, and it makes it look a little bit more finished on the inside. So now you're going to have one button on the inside, and then you still have your 2 ends. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky, because on our bell, we have this loop. So what we're going to do is we're going to thread the wire. One end of the wire goes this direction, and the other wire goes that direction. So we're going to start with this one. Now I need to take this wire, and I'm going to bend it, and it's going to go into the other side. So basically I've made this little X here. So one wire goes that way through, the other wire goes that way through. And then I'm going to pull tight, as tight as you can. It's going to be a little loose, but you just do it as tight as you can. Okay, now we're going to take some jewelry pliers, and we're going to wrap one wire one direction and the other wire the other direction. So I'm going to kind of hold my bell here, and I'm going to start wrapping. It's a little hard to hold the muffin tart or the tin. And you're just going to keep wrapping. And you keep wrapping. And you can trim it off before, but I really like to get a nice good wrap here. If you want to trim the wire off before it gets to the end, you can. But I like to wrap it all the way. Okay, now this one's going to go the opposite direction. And this just makes it a little tighter to where it's not quite as loose. So I'm just going to continue to wrap. Until I get all the way to the end. There. And now it's just tighter in there. It's not quite as loose. And so now we have our little ornament with a bead. Kind of, this is, I think it's a stone, some kind of stone, some buttons, and then we have this really cool little bell inside. All right, I hope you enjoyed that, and I look forward to seeing yours. So tag me and let me know if you make any, and if you have any questions, please just reach out and let me know. Have fun.